Well, here we are. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We are here today to review what it says WWE Summerslam. All right, as we all know that this is one of the biggest pay-per-views of the year, probably behind WrestleMania. So we're expecting a big card. The card actually looked pretty good this go around. You've got Enzo and Big Cass in it. You've got the WWE Divas Champ or Women's Championship. Still trying to get used to that one. You've got the Intercontinental Championship up for grabs. You have the infamous AJ Styles and Cena match. You've got the New Day. I mean, we're talking this had the potential to be such an amazing card, right? I said had potential, right? Because it really wasn't all that great. Unfortunately, this pay-per-view, in my opinion, was not all there. And that's what's really frustrating because you look at it and then the matches line up. Everything makes sense. You have the Universal Championship on the line. The WWE, I mean, it was there. And unfortunately, it led with some DQs, some miscues, some botches, and a lot of confusion. So we're going to go through all the matches. I'm going to review them. Obviously, we know who wins and kind of talk about what the storylines then could entail for the next couple times. So the first match we had was the Jericho versus Enzo and Big Cass and KO, right? Jericho, as they call him. So this match, I mean, it wasn't for a title. It wasn't for anything in spectacular, you know. So for me, I thought that this match was going to be very good. You had Enzo coming out, of course, Enzo killing it on the mic like he always does. Makes a Biggie Smalls reference. Love it. Big Cass is the athlete, is very, very good in the ring. But his mic game, he's trying, but he's not necessarily as good as Enzo, right? As we kind of all know. But it just wasn't there. It was very slow. It was a very slow-paced match. It was not very put good together, you know. You have Enzo, you know, Enzo, who his ring work, don't get me wrong, is not terrible, but for what it's worth, I don't think he's the greatest in work at all, in my opinion. So I think that's what I kind of struggled with while I was watching Enzo compared to Big Cass. I think personally they're gonna split up. I think that this has to happen. I think that they're a good duo, but I think it's time to let Big Cass is being held back by Enzo. So I think it's time for Cass to actually get out and start his own line to maybe a world champion someday. But really, besides that, it kind of ends with a pop-up power bomb into a very high code breaker by Jericho. Hit it very well. He missed a good little bit, which then of course throws off the effect of the actual hit itself. So overall, I mean, it wasn't bad. You know, Jericho gets the win, and which I honestly thought was kind of surprising. I mean, Enzo and Big Cass, I kind of thought they were going to win just because they're loved by the crowd. And we'll talk a little bit about the crowd later. Don't even get me started on how terrible of a venue that was to do it at. So the next match we have Charlotte versus Sasha Banks, right? So we know going into this match, Sasha's going to win, right? We know it. We're like, there's no way she's going to lose. She's been, you know, she wins on Monday Night Raw. She's only had the title for a month. You know, everything was going great. So the match kind of goes, and it's not as good as their previous matches at all. And in fact, the match was actually kind of terrible when you think about it. I mean, a lot of them. And quite frankly, you know, Sasha almost hit her neck and her head multiple times on falls. You know, she came one where it almost scraped the mat. I mean, it just, there was a lot of miscues, a lot of missed transitions. There was one point in time where they were grabbing each other to, you know, whip each other around, and one of them couldn't really tell what was going on. So honestly, it just was kind of a weird match in general. And so Sasha gets her into the bake statement, of course. And then out of nowhere, you see Charlotte put her hand, you know, in between the legs of Sasha, which is, if you've looked at a lot of the other matches, it normally doesn't work that way. Normally she doesn't put her hand there. And the next thing you know, she rolls over and pins her and wins. And everybody freaks out. At this point, I think everybody went crazy because they were like, how could you give it back to Charlotte after how long of a title run that she had? How could you give it back to her when we all knew Sasha was supposed to lead the new era? So right away, she loses. People start going crazy. My Twitter feed starts blowing up. Everybody's pages start blowing up. And next thing you know, there's something about maybe a drug, the wellness policy, maybe a drug deal, or it could be that she was actually injured. So I don't think we're going to actually know until Monday Night Raw tonight, and here in a couple hours, and seeing maybe what actually happened. But from the reports that I've seen on multiple websites, Twitter even, it seems like she's had a back injury, and it seems like this plan to lose has been in effect for about a week to 2 weeks now. So it definitely seems like she was supposed to lose that match. It was planned. It was not something that was, scripted, and it wasn't something that was supposed to happen, but they had to change it due to her finally wanting to probably nurse that back injury a little bit. And honestly, speaking of back injury, it seems like in one part of the match when she's up on the rope and Charlotte kind of knocks her down, she kind of grabs her back and does a weird scream, not something that's normal. I mean, you always hear them scream and they're like, okay, yeah, it's obviously a fake scream or whatever, but this one didn't seem fake. And of course, after the match, the refs come in and they try to, keep the storyline going of that she could be injured. But then I saw on someone's Twitter feed, I can't remember who it was, saw it on their feed of her actually being helped off, with a video of actually being helped off and stuff. And come to find out, it's, she is actually injured. So of course they're not going to strip her of the title. They'd rather her just lose it in a main event. And, who knows? I mean, I don't think Charlotte's going to hold it long. I think honestly, it was something that the rematch was supposed to happen. Sasha was going to win, and, off we go and keep on moving. But since she, had to lose, Charlotte had to take over the belt. And I don't think Charlotte's going to hold it for very long. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw something tonight on Monday Night Raw where Bayley gets called up and does exactly what happened before, where Paige came in way back when she made her debut, and actually, go ahead and win the title right off the bat. Granted, Paige didn't, that was an interesting match when Paige did her deal. So, I mean, it could happen. I mean, Bayley could come in and win the title, but like I said, I don't think Charlotte's going to hold it for very long. If anything, she'll hold it till the next pay-per-view. Maybe Sasha a chance, but I know that she's got her 30-day to 33 days off because she was pulled from all the events. So who knows? I mean, she could come back and win it from Charlotte. They could have her hold it for those 30 days, or, they could go a different direction and maybe bring Bayley up and have Bayley win the championship, and then have a feud between Bayley and Sasha, have this feud of, oh, we're best friends, we love each other, and now we have to fight each other, and then they start hating each other. That could be a really good storyline that could last for a while, because I think, in my opinion, Charlotte and Sasha one is kind of dead. I mean, there's not really much left for that storyline. I mean, they've won, they beat each other, all that stuff. So I truly think that that's kind of done. So I think they got to come up with another type of feud. But anyway, Charlotte wins. On to the next match. So the next one is The Miz and Apollo Crews. So sad about this one. Even though Apollo Crews' promo is just not there. I mean, it just was not good. He's a phenomenal athlete. I definitely will say that. But he doesn't have the crowd pull. He doesn't have the, I guess, abilities or character to be an Intercontinental Championship yet. And so either he needs to move to a different title run, or, he's going to have to really develop his storyline to be able to really make something happen. But really, I mean, The Miz won. I personally don't like The Miz. I think he plays a good storyline, yes, but I just don't like him personally. I just don't. And so I can't wait for him to lose the title. But I guess we'll see what happens. I mean, he might never lose it. Who knows? He's not going to lose it till maybe the next pay-per-view if he's even on the card. But it just wasn't really that great. I mean, it was a corner splash. Cruz was trying to hit the corner splash, and then Miz reverses it into the crushing finale, and then he wins. So it just wasn't really, and honestly, wasn't really all that great, which upsets me because I legitimately thought it was going to be a great match. So that's kind of it for that one. I mean, I don't really have much else to say. Next, you have AJ Styles versus John Cena. Now, this was the match of the night, which I don't know how you could say that, right? When you have Randy Orton and Brock Lesnar coming way later, but this was the match of the night. I think a big thing to highlight here is AJ actually has become the first person to break out of Cena's top rope attitude adjustment, which I thought was amazing. I think AJ did a great job, but AJ had to win this. I think he needed a clean win over John Cena because John Cena's beaten him, has pinned him, and the only time AJ's won is when Luke Gallows and then the club came in and interfered. So AJ kind of needed that win. Does it keep the feud going? I kind of thought maybe it could, but then something interesting happens towards the end where John Cena has this moment, right? So he loses, he gets up and he's sitting there. This is where I'm going to get on my soapbox about the crowd, but he sits there and then he starts taking off his Never Give Up band and puts it in the middle of the ring. And he's supposed to be having this moment, and the crowd doesn't react at all. In fact, he actually gets booed. You can hear, boos coming from the actual people, and that really frustrates me. I thought this was a terrible venue based off the crowd. I mean, the crowd just did not get excited. There was no, even for the later match with Finn Balor, there was just no crowd. It was just really, really sad. And I don't know if maybe that's because of the way the crowds are nowadays, and maybe in the Attitude Era back in the 90s and stuff like that, or 2000s, whatever you want to call it, was just better. And we're just starting to get to a point where maybe wrestling, sadly, is maybe not the best thing. Because you do have to think, there's a lot of wrestling. You watch 3 hours on Monday, 2 hours on Wednesday, and then if you watch NXT, so it's like, it's a lot of wrestling that I have to actually, commit to and watch. So I don't know. It was really interesting, but we'll see. We'll see what Cena does. That could have been a foreshadowing event of him taking it off, maybe being done. He is in his 15th, 16th year going now, and so maybe it's time for him to leave and maybe become a part-time wrestler, because he is making, he's got his show American Grid. He's making appearances in all other places. So maybe it's time for him to actually say, hey, you know what? I'm out of here. I had a great run. You guys are awesome. Love all you guys, but I got to go. Who really knows? But again, great match. AJ Styles, such a phenomenal match. Very, very good job. Very good ring work. A lot of good moves in between. A lot of good kickouts that I honestly didn't think would happen, especially the one off the top rope. But at that point, I kind of was like, oh, great, John Cena's going to win again. And then he kicks out, and, he does what he has to do. And he hits it, and, AJ pins and wins, and that was awesome. I was very happy about it. And then if you weren't pumped then, because that was an amazing match, this is where the rest of the night kind of goes to crap, for a lack of better terms. The next match you have Gallows and versus the New Day, which we all think Gallows and them are going to win, right? Because they've done this thing. You've got the New Day being the longest reigning champions now. It's kind of time to transition away from maybe the face to an actual heel tag team. Here we go. But the problem with this is the storyline is just weird. They become doctors. Gallows and them become doctors, and they're trying to get experiments, and they want to get they got to beat them to get their stuff. And it's just weird. What happened to the guys that were in their awesome, black leather jackets and were BA, you know what I mean? And now they're just these doctors. I don't understand that. I don't know why WWE decided to change them. I don't know if they were trying to separate what they used to be with AJ, or if it was just, I don't know. It was very, very weird. I didn't like it. So the New Day come out. We don't see Big E. Not surprising because Big E's dealing with an actual injury. Everything's great. And then it starts going really weird. New Day wins, but they win because they got themselves DQ'd because you got what's his name? John Stewart, I believe is his name. I don't have it written down. Maybe it's John Stewart. Comes out and starts supporting the New Day with the Booty-O shirt and everything else like that. And then Gallows and them are about to run John Stewart into the pole again with, as he did with Big E. Big E runs out, saves them, but then of course they get DQ, but they're still the champions. It was a very weird match. I was not very happy with it. This is kind of when the night started to take a turn for the worst, as I said before, because when you're in a pay-per-view, especially it being SummerSlam, one of the biggest pay-per-views of the year, you think that you're not going to have these problems with the DQs or the weird endings or any of that. Like, you expect matches to be good all the way through. You get your pinfalls and off you go. And for some reason lately, it just has not happened that way. And that's extremely frustrating for a viewer because we do spend time watching these events. I mean, Jesus, 4 hours last night, or 3 hours, sorry. We sit there, we sit there and we watch it for 3 hours and we get these no disqualification wins and stuff like that. So anyway, not a very good match. Not happy about it. Really wanted to see Gallows and them wins so that we could see some crazy, actual mean heel people take over the tag team champions because New Day. Now, granted, the New Day are loved by the crowd. I mean, every single time they come out, everybody's chanting. They love them. They're fun. But I think it's time to kind of let them go. Kind of time to just be done. Because, I mean, yes, they've been the longest reigning champions, so obviously what they're doing works. I've got that, but there also comes a point where you have to be like, all right, time to kind of be done and move on and let the New Day maybe have a rematch against Gallows and them. I really don't know, but they've got to do something because the New Day can't sit there as champions forever. So, of course, the New Day win by DQ. Next, we have Dean Ambrose and Dolph Ziggler. Now, this one has been built up so well. I mean, we've watched Ziggler try. He's been trying to be a champion for a while now. He's been told, he's been wondering, am I going to get the viewers, to love me, which they do. Now I've got to get management to like me, and they finally say, okay, you get an opportunity. Now, if we date back with Dean Ambrose wins because, wins the championship because Roman Reigns goes through his suspension. And quite frankly, I liked Dean Ambrose. I still like Dean Ambrose. He's probably one of my favorite wrestlers. But at the same time, I kind of thought he was a transitional champion. I kind of thought they were going to be like, all right, we're done. You transitioned us into SmackDown, and at the last pay-per-view, or at Battleground, I kind of thought he was going to lose the title because I thought he was a transitional champion. When they had him win, I said, okay, they're bringing it to SmackDown. He's obviously going to be a big champion, so let's see what happens. So they build this Dolph Ziggler thing up. Now, Dolph Ziggler is now facing him at SummerSlam, and the match, again, not stellar at all. I mean, there wasn't much fighting. I mean, they didn't really staircase Dolph all that well. I mean, they didn't give him a chance to, beat up Dolph a lot, beat up Dean Ambrose a lot, and then Dean Ambrose come back. There wasn't a lot of back and forth. I mean, it was just a simple, Dean hits the dirty deeds and goodbye. And I think that was frustrating for me. I didn't really like that. I thought that, it could have been a lot better, but unfortunately the match was not there. Dean Ambrose wins. So now what are they going to do with Dean Ambrose's title? I mean, you've got AJ and John Cena in his own little thing. I mean, who is really there to take Dean's title? If they build Dolph up to where it almost looks like he's going to be the next champion and then he loses, I mean, geez, who's really next? So not too excited about it, but I guess we'll see what happens on SmackDown on Tuesday night to kind of see what's going to happen there. So next we had Natalya, Alexis Bliss, versus Naomi, Carmella, and Becky Lynch. I wanna hit on Becky Lynch first. So Becky Lynch never wins. Girl can't win in singles matches, tag teams. So quite frankly, I made my prediction based off just Becky Lynch's, but by herself. I didn't pick Becky Lynch's team to win, um, simply because Becky Lynch always loses. So why would you bet for her? Because she's gonna probably lose anyway. So it starts out, everybody comes out, and then next thing you know, Eva Marie, they do their little video again, and you're like, oh, finally, we're gonna finally have someone come out and actually fight. And then of course the guy comes over the thing and says, oh, she's not gonna wrestle tonight, which is what, this is the third or fourth time now that this has happened every single week. So it's getting a little old. I know that the reason why is because she does have the wellness. She broke the wellness and policy deal. I get it. So now she's gone for 30 days, but don't have her wrestle. Maybe she was actually supposed to debut at SummerSlam. I don't know exactly when she got the suspension, but it's just really frustrating. Haven't really seen her in action. So then out of nowhere, of course, Nikki Bella makes her return. Everybody loves Nikki. I'm honestly not a huge fan of Nikki. I like her sister better. I like her sister Brie a lot better. But she comes back, and the match itself was just a typical Divas match. They fight, typical tag team match, really, more than anything. And then she comes in at a weird time in the match, though, to actually seal the deal. I mean, it just didn't look like a really smooth transition. She comes in a little too fast, a little too soon. Comes in anyway, hits her submission, hits the move. Because I actually don't know what her finisher is called. That's my fault. I should actually know that. Again, why I don't like her, so I didn't really think about it. But special, bam, she wins. They win. She wins the team. She pins. Now she's back. So now we have this question of, what's going to happen with her? Is she going to be able to run for the WWE Women's Champion? Is she not? What's going to be the deal with Nikki Bella? Or is she just there to be eye candy because I might not like her, but she is pretty? So that's kind of it on that match. Nothing really fancy there. So we've got a couple more matches left. Next, we have a match. The card is just weird. I mean, they placed all these matches at the weirdest times. You got Dean Ambrose with the WWE champion, middle way of the show. Then you've got Finn Balor versus Seth Rollins for the Universal Championship. I personally thought the belt looked good. I actually liked the red. I mean, it seemed like all they really did with the belt was just flip the colors. So if you notice in the WWE where the little line is at the bottom, instead of it, being red, it's black, and then the belt switched colors. I didn't mind it. Finn Balor's coming in, and now they build up this Demon King thing. And I'm kind of pissed that they revealed it on Monday Night Raw as opposed to waiting till SummerSlam, because then it wasn't nearly as effective and nearly as cool. But I'm a huge Finn Balor fan. I think he's awesome. I think he's a great person. He's a great competitor, and he's very, very good in the ring. The crowd absolutely loves him. And he also has this alter ego, and this alter ego that takes apparently 2 or 3 hours to do, which if you look at that, I mean, it's amazing the amount of paint that's on him at that time. But again, the crowd was terrible. He does his stuff where the lights come on and woo, that, and it just, I don't know, it just was not nearly as impressive as I thought it was going to be. But I want to talk about the push for Finn. So Finn gets called up, he gets drafted, and then he gets pushed so hard, so fast. And I think that is unfortunately a problem, because now he can't go anywhere but down. He can't go up anywhere. So now we have to see how long he's going to actually defend his title for. But it's unbelievable. I mean, the guy just got here. He just got on Raw. And then he hasn't been in any huge promo matches. He did the, stuff to get to where, he did the matches he had to do to get to where he was. So if you want to consider those big matches, then okay, we can say that. But it's his first pay-per-view. On the main roster, and he wins the belt that every champion every wrestler strives to get at least once in their career, and he gets it the very first pay-per-view. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I don't really know how I feel about that. Again, I'm a huge Finn Balor fan, but I think you also kind of have to respect the people that are wrestling for your company. And I think Seth Rollins is a perfect champion. I don't know why he keeps getting screwed, because I think he's amazing. You know, he's the perfect heel for the company. I mean, the crowd, what's funny is he's a heel, but the crowd loves him being a heel because that fits his role so well. And so I'm a little mad. I really wanted Seth to win and take the belt for a good half year, and then let kind of Finn do his thing and get some, ground into the company, and then maybe take it from Seth. But instead, they give it to Finn. So I don't know if it's part of this new era thing or what's going on, but no, not a fan of it. Even though I like Finn, I'm not a fan of him getting the title this soon in his career. But besides that, I mean, like I said, he comes out as the Demon King, and it was good, but the crowd just was not into it as much as it should have been. But yeah, so besides that, I mean, that's really much the match. Finn Balor takes the win, takes the championship, and, we'll get to see it tonight on Monday Night Raw. I'm sure he's going to be the first person to come out and talk about his title, and then I'm sure Seth will interrupt him and probably cause some mayhem where Stephanie's going to have to come out. Who knows? Or Mick Foley, will probably have to come out and maybe set a match or something like that. And maybe he'll have to defend his title tonight, and then Seth Rollins takes the title away from him. Who knows? So next we have Rusev and Reigns. Again, another one of these stupid matches, right? Because you have Rusev, who I said in my last podcast, I love Rusev. I think he is great. I think he is, for a lack of a better term, I think he's the perfect United States champion. They've been doing this whole wedding gig and everything, which I'm not a huge fan of, even though I know they're married in real life and they did actually just get married. I don't think there's a reason to bring the two together in a storyline, but okay, not a problem. Of course, we knew that Roman Reigns, he gets off his drug suspension, and instead of going for the WWE championship, Universal Championship, they slot him for the United States Championship, which I think he'd be good. But here's my problem with Roman Reigns. He has to be a heel. That's the problem. They are shoving Roman Reigns down the WWE's throat, like down the fans' throat. And that's a problem, because they're trying to throw his good parts, good things down our throats to make us believe, make us want that he should be the best at all times. And unfortunately, no one likes Roman. He still gets booed a little bit here and there, but not nearly as bad as it was at the beginning. So the match doesn't even start, actually. Sorry, the match doesn't even start. They brawl the moment they get into the ring, and then they fight on the outside. The refs have to come and actually separate them. So, then it's ruled that Rusev can't fight due to injury or whatever, that he's not suited to fight. So then Roman Reigns leaves, and then you're like, wow, what a joke. You watch the last one with Darren Young, with this little deal going on with and then you're just like, golly, man, like, really, another pay-per-view with a stupid ending? And then Roman Reigns comes out and spears Rusev and, breaks his ribs, if you want to say. So I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know if they're going to maybe have a battle tonight on Raw for the United States title, if Rusev will be quote-unquote healthy enough. But again, just a terrible, terrible way to do this. If you're going to have DQ matches and you're going to have these DQ matches or whatever, then you really kind of need to, what's the word? You honestly need to make those the botched ones, or the ones that are just not as high on the card. But don't make it a title match in like this. They did it twice already tonight, so it's just a little frustrating. But overall, no contest winner, and it is what it is, I guess. So finally, we get to the huge main event of the night. This match, it's been in what they're advertising as 15 years in the making. Lesnar versus Orton. They do a huge promo. They talk about their past, talk about what they were before, show some clips of them when they first entered, which Brock was huge. And I mean, he's still big, but Randy Orton's actually looks a lot bigger than he did prior before, you know, and now he's back from his rotator surgery, rotator cup surgery. Sorry, golly. And the match again, terrible, just not good. Lesnar wins by a TKO, which, heck, I didn't even know what that was possible in the WWE. I have never heard of a TKO. I've heard of pinfall, submission, but I've never heard of a TKO in a regular match that wasn't the main thing of the match, like a last man standing match or something like that. But a TKO, and I don't know if that's really scripted. I mean, they go out, they fight on the outside, and then as Lesnar's about to put him through a table, you know, Randy Orton RKO's him, and you're like, oh, here he goes. But Lesnar really took, I'd say, 95% of this match. I mean, they didn't really do a battle back and forth all that much. I mean, Brock dominates the match, and I don't know, just a little frustrating. And then, of course, we see Lesnar start wailing all over Randy Orton and takes off his gloves. And I don't know if the amount of blood was supposed to happen. I know he was hitting him with his elbows and that he was, you know, hitting him and hitting him and hitting him and hitting him. And maybe he, you know, had the blood pack on there. But from pictures, it seems like there's an action, like he actually cut him open and that was actual true blood bleeding. So I think maybe we'll get some follow up on that to kind of see how Randy Orton's doing. Again, that probably won't be till Tuesday, and then I'm sure Brock will come out tonight, and Paul Heyman will do an amazing, you know, oh my gosh, my guy's the best, da 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 deal. But I'm impressed with that. I just didn't like it. You know, Lesnar wins by TKO, and you know, I don't know. I'm just a little frustrated by it. It had the ability to have a huge match. It's had the ability to have one of the biggest matches in a while, and you know, decides to just kind of kill it more than they do anything else, which is not good. Another thing too that people were saying, rumored, was that the F5 to Shane McMahon was actually not planned, and I'm going to actually do some more research on that before you know, Tuesday night or even Monday night. Just depends on which one they're going to say it on, because I know Brock is obviously on Raw and Shane's on SmackDown, so I don't know if when they'll actually talk about it, but he F5s him and sends him to the ground after he comes in to try to break it up. So I don't know if that was planned. From initial reports, it seems like it wasn't. It seems like Brock was not supposed to take it as far as he did with the punches, and so I don't know if Brock just decided to think that he was in the octagon or something and that he was doing UFC, so he, you know, hit him until he TKO'd him. I really don't know. But yeah, hits him with the F5. So I'm going to do some more research on that to kind of see what's going on with that in general. But besides that, that's really pretty much it with the match. I mean, Lesnar wins by TKO and whatever. So overall, I mean, those are all the matches with the results. Again, Jericho and KO win. Charlotte wins. Miz wins. AJ Styles wins. New Day went off DQ. Dean Ambrose wins. Nikki Bella, Natalya, and Alexis Bliss win. Finn wins. Rusev wins. Well, it doesn't really win. I mean, there wasn't even a match, but we'll say Rusev wins. And then Lesnar, of course, wins. So overall, like I said, the pay-per-view, not a fan. Okay with it, did not like it. But it being one of the biggest, you know, pay-per-views of the year besides WrestleMania, you would have thought that maybe they would have learned from Battleground that fans don't like no contest, DQs, and stuff like that. I mean, it's sad because this really just was not to follow Battleground. Would have been difficult in general because I thought Battleground was pretty good, but I didn't think that they would ruin SummerSlam like they did. So for the next 4 weeks, you know, until they obviously do another pay-per-view or however long it is. I haven't actually looked at the schedule. So kind of frustrated, not happy about it. If you got any questions, I'm gonna do reviews for Monday Night Raw and SmackDown live. I'm waiting for them to get rid of the word live, but I will be doing my live podcast for both of those two. I'll ask questions, and you ask me questions, I'll answer them in the middle of the podcast. That's totally cool. But really, besides that, that's about it. I don't really have anything else. We will get this uploaded. We'll get it taken care of, and hopefully, you guys will like and subscribe. And hopefully enjoyed the talk. If you want to become part of my podcast, I'm looking for another 1 or 2 people to take this on with me. So hopefully you'll have enough time to do it. Besides that, though, thank you so much, and have a great rest of your Monday.